The Ukraine, we both watched one of the terrestrial UK news channels on YouTube, did a video. It was really an update about where we are with the what's called the Russo-Ukrainian War, or the Ukrainian-Russo War. And there's just a few things that we thought, oh, perhaps there's something to talk about. The first thing on that actual video was really comparing Volodymyr Zelensky with Vladimir Putin, wasn't it? And their leadership styles. Is there a difference, do you think?
What we need to always bear in mind here, in my view, is that the editing and the cutting and the delivery of a piece of news is driven for the audience that it's meant to receive it. So it's put together in the shape that is going to get the best propaganda value for the audience that's receiving it. So I would imagine that Russia Today will have a very high view of the way that Vladimir Putin is operating and leading, and anything that goes west is going to have a very high view of the way that Volodymyr Zelensky is handling and doing things. So I don't think that the actual reporting gives us a fair picture of either man. I think that both men have proven to be very capable over these years, and not just through this conflict that's going on. Zelensky has sort of stepped up in terms of this conflict, but I think that Putin has demonstrated something quite impressive in terms of his political abilities, and that's notwithstanding that I have absolutely no truck with the invasion of Ukraine. I think that was a very, very foolish move, and I'm totally opposed to the invasion of the Ukraine. And while that stands, I think that then we need to ask further questions around why. Why did he do this? Because it is a terrible thing to have happened. It's caused untold misery and suffering. And what I'm always intrigued with is the why question. What led him to do that? Where did it come from? Is it just because he's a flipping maniac leader like Stalin or Hitler or something like that? And I don't see those comparisons. But Zelensky and Putin, interesting guys.
Well, I'll start with Putin because you just finished on him. There is a lot of commentary around the fact that when he made the decision to have they didn't call it a war at that time, did they? A special military operation. He was almost like egging himself very distant from everybody else because he was shut away during COVID for some time, and there seemed to be a change in the way he saw the world or whatever. I don't know how true that is. I don't know enough about that. All I can say is that when you can compare the two, there's two things that come to mind for me. One, how Zelensky, when he was put into the presidency, he was a stand-up comedian. And yet he has enabled himself, or has become, this world statesman of some quite impressive statesmanship skills in the way he projects himself and the Ukraine on the world stage. He's very seldom in a suit. He's always in like fatigues, like half battle fatigues, isn't he? That's deliberate. Because he obviously knows stage presence and how to conduct himself in front of others. He's also got quite impressive grasp of language. He can speak, I don't know how many languages, but he speaks English very well. He seems to be the person that cometh the hour, cometh the man. He's stepped forward and he's conducted himself in a certain way. The video that we referenced, it's trying to say that he's always seen with the troops. He's always there, whereas you don't really see that with Putin. Putin is a much more reserved figure, but very choreographed. I mean, they're all choreographed. But he's very choreographed on the grand scale. A lot of white and gold buildings, trappings behind him, and then there's statesmen and women from different countries, his so-called allies, big tables and so on. So it is very marked as far as what the content seems to be coming to us, but you're absolutely correct. How much is that doctored? How much is actually putting across a narrative that may or may not be true? I don't know. So there is a marked difference, and that's the first thing that I think comes across.